everybody to introduce themselves. Obviously, Mike and I don't need any introductions to our own podcast. So let's start off with you, Charlene.
Okay, I'm Charlene Fernandez. I'm chair of the Arizona Democratic Party.
Claudia.
Hi, my name is Claudia, they, she pronouns, and I am the president of the Young Democrats of Arizona. I also serve as the political director for the county Maricopa Young Dems.
Xanth.
Hi, I'm Xanth Bullard, and I am the chair of the Yuma County Democratic Party.
And last but not least, Jonathan.
Hi, good evening. My name is Jonathan Valencia, and I am the chair for LD 23 Democrats.
All right, thank you. So, as Michael said earlier, I will be sharing a video. I asked a handful of young adults at the state committee meeting 2 simple questions. What do they like about the Democratic Party, and what would they like to see change throughout their lifetimes? So let's watch them give their response. I'll just pull that up.
Can I get your name and age?
My name is Feather. I am almost 29, currently 28.
Hi, David Gomez, 23 years old.
My name is Ben Armentrout. I am 23 years old.
Cooper, I'm 19.
Jeffrey Fitzwater Castle, and I'm 32 years old.
And what do you like about the Democratic Party?
As far as the Democratic Party goes, I'm very much active, and it is generally a welcoming party. It is, at the best of times, it can get a lot of good things done for people, and like it fights for labor, it fights for people of color, it fights for the LGBTQ plus community. And there is an actual vision for a better future within the Democratic Party.
I like what it used to be, what it used to stand for, and what I think it still wants to stand for.
What I like about the Democratic Party is that they stand with humans, they stand with morality, they stand with values for the everyday person. They do not leave the marginalized unaccounted for. They're here to protect the basic human rights of people. And that's what makes this party different than any other party.
I really like a lot of the people in it at the grassroots level. There's a lot of people who have really dedicated so much time and energy to improving the material conditions of Americans and people around the world. Organizers from our union groups, other grassroots orgs, and people who care about the communities around the world.
I appreciate that there's a coalition of many different people. Like here today, we have so many different caucuses at the ADP. And I think the variety of perspectives offers a lot in how we should go about the electoral process and governing.
And what would you like to see changed about the Democratic Party throughout your lifetime?
There has to be a sense of accountability and actually standing up to certain issues that the population actually wants to stand on. Whether it's systemic, whether it's social, whether it's economical. I think there's a lot of underlying issues that this party needs to further address, and in order to get accountability and maintain any trust within the system as well.
Obviously, I think that we should empower younger voices more. I would also appreciate just moving further left. I think a lot of young people would agree with that. And just be more progressive as a party.
All right. And for a clarifying question, what do you mean by empowering younger voices?
That would be electing young people, older people retiring, and letting young people take the lead on the future that they will live. Additionally, that could be putting younger people in leadership roles within the party.
Now, as far as what I believe we can do better in the Democratic Party, I think we need to start letting in new voices, new blood, start giving people opportunities, and actually start rewarding people who show skill and talent, because there is an issue within the Democratic Party of not letting people like take the wheel or take the torch and fight. We do have a lot of there is an issue with younger leadership not getting like the chance that they should, and I think it's going to be important that we try to build up the next generation, because the people who are in charge right now are not going to be there forever, and they also didn't grow up in the world that we grew up in. We didn't see, like, we got to see a world that defined our lives in a far different way than the older generation, so I think that's really important.
I'd like to see them pull away from corporate donors. They need to stand for the people, not for corporations.
Gosh, frankly, a whole lot. I'd like to see the will of those organizers who are really interacting with folks be reflected by the party structure and organizing from the bottom to the top, especially the way that we have our candidates representing the party in elected office. I think that there's a serious need to reform our election system. Really a big fan of the people's primary mechanism that Ed Markey and Elizabeth Warren used back in 2012. To make the incentives for everyone who represents the Democratic Party to do the will of the people and to make people's lives better. To create a party where nothing else is more important than making everyone's lives affordable, safe, and free.
So let me just lead out here. It seemed to us that it would be useful to have some of the actual younger Democratic leaders within the party, which would be Claudia, Xanth, and Jonathan here, talk to the current generation of leadership about these issues, and to talk generally about how to make it so that young people participate more in our democracy, i.e. vote at higher rates, register at higher rates. And of course, the Democratic Party can accept the leadership of younger people sooner. It seems like they express a lot of frustration that they weren't currently able to, take charge and to direct the party. So I'd like to hear the younger people's reactions to that, and then we can talk with Charlene a bit about her reaction to all this. Claudia, why don't you lead us off?
I had a feeling I was going to be called first. So I am super thankful that I know 3 out of those 5 faces. They served on our Yuma County Young Dems, our Pinal County Young Dems, and our college Young Dems. And so we have conversations like that a lot. I will start off with saying, just elephant in the room is this is my first time meeting Charlene. And she's been in this role for a while, but also it's been a hectic year, right? We went through 3 chairs in a year, which is kind of hectic and makes people kind of uncertain and like almost untrustworthy of like what is even happening within the party. I will also touch on some of the points that I heard, which were things that, our board talks about a lot in our membership, as well as the passing the torch, right? I think from my experiences, I'm 26. I picked up my first clipboard to do voter registration when I was 15 years old. And what I've seen in multiple spaces is, young people are leading the charge. We are on the ground. We are at these meetings taking notes for whoever's campaign we're working on or whoever sent us there. But then when it's time to actually get a job in the field, right, it's like hard. And something that I'm learning myself through my journey of, being involved in local politics is, the Democratic Party is coming off elitist. That is something that we hear a lot. And I think that comes from the fact that money makes the world go round. You can't really do anything unless you have money. Like even in the Young Dem space, I serve on multiple Young Democrats of America caucuses, and I can never go to them in person because I don't have money to go. Like they have meetings, same as the DNC. And even this last year, they had the national convention similar to the DNC. And I'd fundraised my hardest to get as many people there as I could. But we didn't receive any of that like support or even guidance or training from whoever was the chair at the time. So that's another thing, right? Is that we don't have readily accessible trainings to teach people how to step into these roles. It's almost like we're creating the book for ourselves. Whoever comes into this role may have like a guide, but then like the next person to roll in doesn't have that guide because of ego as well, I will say. I stepped into this role and I thought that I was going to kill it, but then I was starting from scratch and don't even know who came before the president before me in terms of like keeping records and stuff. So I don't know who are the people I'm supposed to reach out to ask those questions. And, you know, we are part of a Gen Z roundtable with a few organizations that do work across the state. And we've kind of had to use each other as like a network versus the party. And we always assume, right, there's like 4 people really working on staff. So we're just like, oh, capacity. Everyone is burnt out and I feel it, you know. But those are definitely some conversations that we're having and issues that we're facing and things that we're noticing. So I'll leave it at there so that everyone else can speak.
Thanks, Claudia. Let's go with Jonathan next. I think he's the next youngest leader we have here.
Hi there. Yeah, so nice to be here with you guys tonight. Yeah, to extend Claudia's point, a lot of these roles from the outside, they might seem a little intimidating or a little bit just hard to reach. And inaccessible, I would say would be the more appropriate word. And once you do get into those roles, to Claudia's point, it's there's no guidebook, there's no rule book. Actually, when I became chair, I had to reset all the passwords and all that good stuff and retrieve all the documents and it was a fun time, right?
That doesn't get better
resetting password.
That doesn't get any better when you get older. Yeah.
So yeah, you know, I've been thankful that you know, I got started back in 22 actually. So just a few years ago, I was so right now I'm 31. I may not look like it, but back then I was 28 when at least when I started. And you know, I started on the campaign side of things and I actually worked on our very own Senator Fernandez campaign as a campaign intern. Which Charlene is very well aware of. That's when I met her, actually. Yeah, and from there on, I started to work on another campaign, Representative Sandoval's campaign. And from there, I just, I started with, I went a few months and not doing anything directly involved with politics or campaigns. And you know, the ex-chair from LD23 Democrats reached out to me because they needed a secretary. He brought me on board. You know, I guess he saw me active and, you know, involved and he wanted to sort of get me on board and, you know, I joined the board and he later resigned and I was able to step in at that point. So I'm thankful to have had the experience of, so the rest of the board is actually, everyone else is retired on the board. I'm literally the guy that's, you know, I'm a young parent, I'm a student, and I'm the one new to the scene, you know, and I'm so thankful because, you know, prior to getting elected as chair, a couple of the board members were like, I want to see you there. I want to see you be the chair. And that's pretty cool, you know, having a mix of the older, more experienced crowd with the new faces, right? And I think that's always a good mixture. You want to have the old, let's not say age, but the more well experienced folks that are going to sort of transition the newer folks, because we need to pick up and learn all we can learn because things move fast out there. So it's always good to have I think mentors. I've been thankful to have had a few mentors throughout my you know, these last couple of years because you can't do any of it alone. So you know, it always helps to have helping voices, helping opinions, and people that want to see you do good. And yeah, I mean, the Democratic Party, I think there's definitely a few things that I think need to change in the approach of how we approach young folks. Just because I don't know, I feel like there could be more ways to sort of involve them and retain them. And that's hard to do because people fall through the cracks all the time. And I'm pretty sure, you know, this has been said over and over at this point because we got to retain folks and not start from scratch every single cycle. We got to retain them and not have to sort of reinvent the wheel over and over again, because that takes more time and energy anyway, versus having young people involved, keeping them around, developing them, growing them. Ooh, guess what? Next cycle, boom, they're ready to step into a higher role. Boom, they're doing bigger things. So, and I think that's really what it's all about. This is how we get our communities to move forward and our party to move forward.
Great, thanks for that, Jonathan. Xanth, you want to speak up?
Yeah, so first I want to say also that I am very proud that I am able to recognize 3 or 4 of the faces and names in what we just watched. And one of them I actually just oversaw the election for Santa Cruz County, and he is their new treasurer at a very young age. So I'm very happy to see that. But I also felt a sting in some of their words that, you know, and I will say, being the youngest county chair, I have aged out of the young Democrat age category. So that doesn't really like say a whole lot that I am when I say I'm the youngest county chair, it's kind of like we could be doing better. And so I say that to say that one of the things I think I heard without them saying it is that there isn't a whole lot of paths. And I think from my own experience, what I've realized is that a lot of it is folks understand on surface the party and how things work or how they think it should work, but we have a lot of opportunity. I don't want to fault us because I know we're always trying to do better. And I do know I've had the distinct pleasure of knowing Charlene for a very long time. And I know that she is one person that I can confidently say finds young folks, identifies them, and does not let them fall through cracks. So I don't want to, I want to point out where we can do better, but I'm not putting blame on anyone at all. But what I do think is we have an opportunity as the party, the state party especially, to do better with training. One thing I would really love to see myself is that the education coordinator actually handles some education. So folks that want to know more, want to be more involved, but don't know where to start, don't have to wait for someone to put their arm around them and bring them in, that there's sort of more information about how the whole process works. Because it is, from the outside, there's a lot of it's very easy. We register Democrats and then we get them to vote. But there's a lot more that goes into the actual structure of a party. And so I think that, you know, making sure that there's internal education about, you know, how you become a PC, how you become a state committee member, what that means and what doors that opens up for you might be helpful. And then I also just want to say that when I was coming up, I heard a lot of, we've always done it this way. And so that's where that sting sort of, I resonated a little bit with that. And I too am constantly trying to figure out how I can do better and make sure that the folks that are younger than me don't feel that same way about my leadership. And I do think also when we talk about young Democrats, I want to make sure that we're understanding that they, like every other voting bloc, are not a monolith. Right? We have like the high school Democrats or the folks just out of high school. We have college Democrats, which I think a lot of folks tend to think are like the young Democrats. And then we have like non-college, like attending working Democrats who are young and working families like one of our chairs here. And so I think it's important to realize that there's a lot of different categories and areas that we can reach folks. So I will stop for now so that, we can continue the conversation. But that was my initial feedback, or I guess insight and thoughts on all of that.
And thanks, Xanth. Well, now, Charlene Fernandez, Chair Fernandez, it's time for you to solve it all.
Oh, yeah.
I'm kidding, but I would like to hear your reaction to some of the concerns you're hearing from these young people.
Andrew, I have to give kudos to you. That was just an amazing video. I mean, my heart was about to burst listening to them talk about how they believe in the Democratic Party and how we can do better, because we can always do better. Every day that we're here, we can do better. I don't think it can all boil down to this one sentence, but I'm going to say the sentence. You have to ask. I went to visit U of A. I've been over there about 3 times to visit the young Democrats at U of A. And, I just started talking to the president there, and I said, what is it we could do? I mean, just dream big. What is it? She said, we need funding. How can we raise money? We try, no one really takes us seriously. I said, well, let me take this back and, I'll get back to you. So, I called her and I said, how about we do a joint fundraising email? We have to share it, but we'll send it to our donors and just see. They made maybe about, I think, $750, but that was really kind of thinking outside the box. No one had done that before. Why not? Those are our donors. Some of them really, really have a lot of love for what, our young Democrats are doing, what our young people are doing. They really believe in it. And they'll, put out a little bit of money. So you just need to ask. Xanth mentioned, training for PCs. When I got here, I said, you know what? I want a time and a place where every single one of the PCs in Arizona can get together one place at one time. And everyone said, what do you mean? And I said, hey, Zoom, we can do it. Let's try it. Let's try a webinar. If it doesn't work out, we'll do it better the next month. Well, we're going into our 2nd month. And, I promised them to get some great speakers as we move along. But what are we talking about? We're talking about what PCs do, what they can do, what they can't do, how exciting it is to be a PC. Someone just needed to start that, to think outside the box. I don't even want to say this sentence, but I'm going to say it. No one is going to hand it to you. Nobody, I'm telling you, because I know. I'm not going to say, hey, I'm really tired of doing all this stuff. Would you do it now? You have to say, how can I learn what you're doing? I've got my staff here, by the way, 2 members of the staff that are younger than, I'm going to kind of guess because we don't ask ages around here, but are under the age of 35. They put that whole state committee meeting together. That ran smoothly. They just would walk in here and say, what does this look like? What do you think about this? Can we do this? How's this going? And they ran with it. 2 young people. So they, I did hand that to them. I said, I need a state committee that's going to run smoothly in Yuma, and please get this done. So you have to be ready for that ask, but you also have to be ready to ask. Nothing is going to get handed to you, but when it is, be ready to grab it. I think those are really important things to think about. I just see so much in our young people. People constantly say, and I'm guilty of it too, because I hear myself when I speak at groups, young people are the future. You're not the future. You're the present. You are the present. You are not the future. You're going to walk into the future. And this is another thing I say, you're going to be paying taxes so that I can continue to get Social Security, so that our children, are taken care of, that our schools are doing well, that our roads we can drive on, that our libraries are still open to the public, that maybe the madness that's happening today will not happen anymore because you are the people that are going to walk forward, but you are the present. So don't let anyone tell you, in a condescending way that you are the future, because you are the present. I'm going to tell you right now, the reason that when we count, that new program that the DNC put together called me up and said, guess what? We're picking 2 states, and Arizona is one of them. I knew why we were one of them. We're a battleground state. Why are we a battleground state? Because of the young voters.
Chair
Because
Fernandez,
of our
I think some of our listeners may not have enough context to understand where you're going with that. Could you back up?
When We Count is an amazing program being put together by the DNC where they will fund us. We're still working out all the logistics, but we'll be able to go out in communities, much like Yuma, much like San Luis, all over the state, and we'll be able to hire people in those areas, college-age kids, not college, I'm not saying that kids are in college, but college age, to go out and do voter registration. It's called When We Count. They picked 2 states to start with, Nevada and Arizona. And I know why, and you should know why they picked us. So you are the reason why we are doing better. You're the reason why everyone is looking at Arizona. They know that what happens in CD6 with, where we will get Siscomani out of there and get a Democrat in there and make a difference at the U.S. Congress, where every one of these congressional districts is up for grabs because of our young voters, because of the potential of our young to register to vote, so they will become our young voters. You're the reason why. So don't let anyone say you don't matter, because you matter. Don't let anyone say you're the future, because you are the present. So, when we win in November, it will not be by accident. It will be by design. It will be the design made by all of us, that we're going out there, registering new people, and that we're starting today. This is my mantra right here. I'm at the office. I keep saying right here. I'm in Phoenix at my office. I tell them every day, we are starting today to win. And tomorrow morning, I'm going to tell them the same thing. We are starting today to win. We have to work toward winning every single day, because if we're not, we're losing. So every day we're working toward winning. And when we win, it will be by design. I hope that helps you out to know where I'm coming from.
Yeah, I'd like to crystallize a few things for a more granular discussion that I've heard. And a couple of those things are the dominance of wealth in our system. And for young people, it applies generally to our political system that, obviously the opinions of the wealthy are traded much more urgently than those of people who aren't wealthy. But specifically for young people, what I'm hearing is that they have a lack of resources in order to fulfill these roles. That there's not enough paid opportunities, there's not enough internships, there's not enough stipends, there's not enough resources available, like tickets to travel and to attend events, enough resources and systems and data in place in these roles to help younger people not have to reinvent the wheel every time they come into a leadership position. So one of the things that is really key is making sure that the party is spending resources on young people, and that's something that Republicans have done very well, despite the fact that, of course, they're dominated by the wealthy, but they spend a lot of their money on developing youth in their movement.
But you just told me, see, you can't have it both ways, because you talk about money in politics. What do you think Turning Point is? Do you think that they got that money from, wherever? No, they got it from corporations, and they're able to spend it on Chick-fil-A and flying people across the country. So you can't have it both ways. When I talked to that young woman, I'm sorry, I don't remember her name, but I remember her situation. And I had someone else write down her name when she told me about the fact that she had to stay in a hotel that was in an unsavory area. And I get it. She should not have, a young woman like that shouldn't have been staying anywhere in Yuma except where she was with, among other people. And I said, I didn't know. I said, we're going to figure this out. This is not going to happen. When that woman came up and one of our SEM said about a place to stay and how much it costs, and we used to arrange housing, we did. When I was there, when I was party chair, we used to arrange housing. And so guess what I did? I came back and we're starting up a list right now where we're going strategically have our next state committee meeting, and we're going to arrange housing. and see what that looks like. But we cannot be the answer to everything if we don't know what the question is. So when you know you're going to come down and you say, you know what, it really would be helpful if I had someplace to stay. All you need to do is ask once. We'll figure that one out. So I want to be the answer, but I got to know the question. I want to be able to help, young people out with housing, whatever that looks like, internships. But if you don't want me to raise money, then I can't do it.
No, we're not saying that at all. We're not saying that at all. But I think where we spend our money is an important question, and spending it more on supporting the young people who want to support us might be something that we want to look at in the future. I'd like to hear from our young leaders here what they think about how I've framed this. That while the money that we spend and the investments that we make need to be supportive of young people's participation and ability to participate because of their place in their place in life and their stage of life. Why don't we go back and go reverse order? Xanth, you want to respond to that?
Yeah. So one, I want to say that supporter housing is something that we're aware of that is a need. And I did put out the call to the chairs. I probably should have done a better job and have said, I should have asked for it to be broadcast everywhere. But I also, because this is the first time in 6 years that the state committee has been held locally, our state committee members always have to travel. So before the last state committee, I put out a survey to our state committee members and said, if we rented a bus, would that change if you were able to attend or if you attended? And I was told no. So a little bit to Charlene's point, if we don't know, if you don't make the ask, but I also understand that, our younger folks can't always afford to attend events. So I always make it a priority to find sponsors to make sure that those folks can attend those events and they don't have to worry about if they can come up with even the $35 that it takes to attend an event. Because I understand that they're already giving of their time. And so then to also ask them to give of their money is really something that's just not always possible. And when we're doing things and we have volunteers, I really try to make sure that we have ways to help them with, gas cards or things like that. Because I understand that we are asking them for their time, but then there's that cost part that people don't think about because our leadership is either some folks like Jonathan and Claudia who are very passionate, or they're folks who are already retired and sort of have some disposable income. We don't have a lot of people who are working that because they just can't. And so trying to find ways to help with stipends is something that's been a passion of mine, but we always can do better. And that is something that I want to find creative ways to do better with, because I realize there's a need there. I just don't always have the solution, but I want to do better.
Jonathan?
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree that that does help out a lot when it comes to people like us, right? College students. I mean, I'm in college. I'm taking a little bit of a break right now, but we're already pulled in all directions as it is, and I'm sure a lot of people are in that situation where coughing up that additional gas money or that what's it called, lodging money and all that stuff, and then food on top of that, and it can get into quite an extraordinary expense for time that you're giving to begin with. That's a barrier. I mean, it just straight up is a barrier. That's pretty much what it is. I mean, we're not always gonna be in there's a lot of us that are just working class, trying to participate in these events and these leadership roles and all these things. But at the end of the day, you got a bottom line. Like, everyone has a bottom line. especially in a family situation. So yeah, I would definitely be glad to see more sort of creative solutions, like Xanth mentioned. Creative solutions are the way to go, and that gets the conversation going for something that maybe a lot of people don't bring up. And you know, we want to make it accessible for everyone, right? We want to make it as accessible for everyone, and just being able to do something like that, or who knows what might come up in the future. Maybe to Charlene's point, you have to ask in order for people to know what you need help with, and that's 100%. That's the way to go. To look at it, because no one ever knows if you don't ask. I mean, just in my role, I don't know what anyone needs help with if they don't ask. They have to bring it up to me, and constantly, actually. So
make some noise, young people. Make some noise.
Make some exactly. You gotta make some. You gotta get the rolly thing, the that thing that they use at the I've seen like on shows and stuff. So yeah, you gotta go out of your way to ask, but then there's another barrier. Sometimes people don't know that they can ask. So I've seen it all the time. I've seen every little nook and cranny. You can see that all the time. But that's why I admire Charlene, I will say, Xanth. I've had plenty of opportunities where you guys have shown your leadership, and just recently, Charlene actually lent us a printer. She, yeah, she was so great to do that. Like, honestly, it just someone from our team had to actually bring it up, and again, we got to ask, what we need help with, and thankfully, she was able to connect with Charlene, and thank you for that, Charlene. We'll put it to good use this year. But yeah, it's a lot of that, and a lot of it is relational. A lot of it is just, when people are new to the whole thing, they don't have the most confidence. They might be a little bit more quiet, but you develop and grow as you go, and you learn to speak up and ask, make the big ask, the hard ask, or simple or hard ask. But yeah, just making it easy for people to participate 100%. That's what we need to look at.
Claudia, what's your reaction?
Yeah, I don't have, I've been in my role for almost a year now. And so, as I mentioned, it's been a very hectic year with going through 3 different chairs. I'm never afraid to ask. I actually have asked for multiple things and had gotten no response from multiple chairs this year. So again, it just goes back to there is no directory. And so actually that's something that I've been working on in my term, is to make sure that we have a list of all the LD chairs, all the county chairs. And even then, right, I actually grew up in Yavapai County. And so my whole term has been revolved around making sure that we are supporting more rural areas. And I'm super proud of the growth that we have been able to make in developing some of these young Dem County chapters. But even then, right, like I haven't heard back from multiple counties. I think I only heard back from 4 out of the 15. And then out of those 4, we were able to start 3 new chapters. Again, I'm not afraid to ask, and I will literally ask my LD chair and be like, hey, do you know who I can go to for this? Some of the ADP staff, I have gone to them and said, hey, like this is still an issue that hasn't been addressed. Who do I go to? CC me in an email, do this, do that. I take calls at 11 p.m. if I have to make sure that things are getting done, because I don't think that, it's fair for young people to miss out on opportunities because of other folks' leadership. And that's another issue, right, is that the LD chairs are not getting paid and the county chairs are not getting paid. And so they let things slip away all the time. And, but then they have the money to campaign on running again, or kind of making noise around their name, to get back in those leadership positions when there's people who have the passion and have the energy. We all do, and then we get burnt out a little bit because we keep meeting these dead ends. And so that's part of the problem, I think. I actually just met with the ADP staff today. I sent a long email to one of the staffers because there has been like a runaround of like, who do I go to for this? You know, I've reached out to this person and that person and this person and that person, and it's been about 7 months and this situation still hasn't been addressed. I guess that would be part of what using our resources better, I guess, is like, don't get me wrong, my LD chair, he's doing his best, but I do think there's a lot of times where I text him, I'm like, hey, what's up with this? Why haven't I heard back? And it's not until I see him in person next where he's like, oh yeah, I've been meaning to text you back, I just haven't yet. And that's how we lose young people to the cracks, right? They're eager, they're excited to do the things, but the leadership is just slacking on different levels, and it makes it harder for us to stay engaged and stay involved. And like even voter registration, right? Like we have not had any contact with the state party to like really flesh that out. So we're relying on each other to run these programs. We actually host monthly meetings, and our elected officials actually are the ones sponsoring the food. We're trying to be resourceful. We're trying to figure out things where we can to get these things done, and working alongside PACs and our elected officials, right, to like get these things done. But yeah,
it sounds like it's very frustrating oftentimes when you're a young leader and you're shoveling that bucket of water as fast as you can down that hole, but it seems that the hole never fills up. One of the things that I'd like to suggest is perhaps one common complaint that I've heard from a lot of people is that there's a lack of systems in place. It's hard to communicate across the party, within the party, in order to get things coordinated and get things done. So one of the things that young people are very good at is using technology in the workplace. So, you know, something like a single platform on which we can organize, like a Slack workspace or something like that for every LD or even every precinct seems to me like a great idea. I want to ask Charlene about this specifically. Is there ever a time when you sit down in a room with a donor and you pitch, we need better infrastructure for our young people to organize, for the party to organize, and we need to be able to bring people in from working class and younger demographics, and we need to be able to pay them. Is that a pitch that you think donors would be interested in hearing from you as the chair to fund the party?
You know, for donors, it's really important. I mean, it's very basic, is that they just want to see more Democrats elected. I mean, you know, that's what they're asking of me. You know, are you going to get more Democrats elected? How are you going to get more Democrats elected? Are the things you're doing right now going to get more Democrats elected? I mean, they're in, you know, most of the donors that we have, it's not like they have just money thrown around that they're going to give to us. They're working too. You know, and I want to go back and talk about, you know, people getting back to you. And I mean, there's no reason that our staff shouldn't. Our staff are full-time. But our LD chairs and our county chairs, and actually your party chair, they're all non-paid.
Yeah.
I'm here at 7:30 in the morning and I'm still here right now. So, and that's unpaid. So you know, I have to find a place to live when I'm up here. I have to drive up here. So we're kind of dealing with that same situation a little bit better because I'm a little bit, you know, older and a little bit more established, but it's not easy. And I feel for every one of the county chairs because I've been there. I was a county chair and I know how hard it is. So, you know, we have to give everybody a little bit of grace. Just a little bit of grace. I was just on the phone with someone about this whole ICE thing that's going on. And, you know, I'm mad at so-and-so because I said, we just need to give people grace because we don't know what they are going through. And for, you know, whether it be Xanth or her counterpart in Mojave County or her counterpart in Santa Cruz County, every single one of them are there for a reason because they really believe in electing Democrats, but they don't have 8 or 10 hours a day that they can devote to it. And I would venture to say, you know, it might be easy to say, well, walk away and give it to someone that can do it. It would be really hard to find someone that can do this job for free because we're all doing it for free. Every single one of us except for staff. That's why I said staff, if there's an issue. 7 months ago, I wasn't here. And a lot of the staff that was here 7 months ago are already gone. they left because of, what happened. That happened. I don't even know what happened, and I don't care to know. All I know is 7 months ago, the staff that was here, most of them are gone. So let's give everybody a little bit of grace and kind of start fresh. Know how important you all are, you young people. Actually, when we're talking about messaging and how important messaging is, for people who want to get out and vote, it's all about you. Because we're talking about affordability. We're talking about how we can make sure that housing becomes affordable. Is it for me and people that look like me? Not really. It's for all our young people, our working class people. So you're driving our message. Reproductive freedom. We're fighting for reproductive freedom. Is it about me? Is it for people that look like me? No. It's all about you and my grandchildren, and maybe even, on some level, my children and people that look like me, their children. We're talking about things that we're fighting for, like climate change, which is so important. So important because it's about our utilities and all of that. Climate change is all about that. Yeah, that could be about me, but it's mostly for our future, what climate change is going to do for the future that I shouldn't say future, but for the now that you all are inheriting from us for what we screwed up. And democracy. Yeah, I care about democracy, but I care about democracy for people like all of you. It's so important to me. And again, I have grandchildren. I am fighting for that democracy every single day for them. So know that you are just a very, very, very important part of the work that we're doing. Real quick, I wanted to tell you, and I mentioned a little bit about, that I talked to the young woman from the college Dem, or I think she was college Dems or whatever. She was there tabling. So when I was walking to one of the caucuses, I ran into her and we just chatted really quickly. So I went into the senior council. It was almost like perfect because I just talked to her and she kind of told me things like you're telling me, Claudia. And so I was thinking about that as I walked in there. And so I introduced myself at the senior council, listened to a little bit what they were doing. And I said, look, before I leave, I want to talk to you about something. I said, if you're looking for something to do, you're all doing something. But if you're looking for something to do, if you want to bring more people in, I said, think about partnering with those young Dems out there. Be a partnership. I said, they need your help. They need your money, disposable money. I think Xanth said, maybe someone that can donate money. Talk to them. Have them come out and talk to this group everywhere. The senior council is pretty powerful. They do amazing Zoom meetings. You would never guess it, but they do amazing Zoom meetings. I said, bring some young people in that can talk about what's going on our college campuses, or as they're young parents, or as they're paying for, daycare, for their young children. And so, they were, everybody was really quiet. And I said my goodbyes. And one guy followed me out and he said, Ms. Fernandez, can I give you something? He pulled out his wallet and gave me $50 and asked me to take it to the Young Democrats. And I'm like, it's done. And I took it and I took it right to her. I said, this is from someone from the senior council. So these are the things we need to be doing. We need to start partnering. It's about partnership. Today, it's all about us working together. And it's all about electing Democrats. Once we're in there, once we get the control of the Congress, the Senate, and the House, we can do some amazing things. And then in 2 years, when we are in the presidency, we can do even more amazing things. Then we hold people's feet to the fire. And we say, this is what we did to get you elected. This is how we did it now. Now, what are we going to talk about for me? So I hope you carry that with you that you are a very, very important part of the work that we're doing. And the reason why we come here in the morning, and the reason that we put up with a lot of people that don't like us, and the reason we go out there and fight every day. Today, I was at the legislature where we were defending, if you can believe it, that we have to defend our own Attorney General, Chris Mays. We were there defending Chris Mays, who has been defending us every day since she's been put in office. Those are the things we're doing, and it's really, really hard to do because you're thinking, why do I have to defend this person? that has
Thank
been
God for
doing
those
so much
280
work.
voters that put her over the top. My God.
Exactly. There you
There are
go.
no more important voters than those. But I just wanted to, at the bottom of this hour that we have together, I'd like to turn to Andrew. Andrew was the one that drove this project, pulling this together. It was his interest to pull together those video clips and to get the reactions of young leaders, as well as our chair, who's not so young anymore. So I'd like to hear how he's reacting to this conversation thus far, and if he has any questions for any of our panelists. Andrew?
Yeah. Overall, I echo a lot of the same issues that the other young adults here have discussed. I fall into the young professional category, so not in college, but college educated. Oftentimes, I see myself, or at least others within the party, they just want to put young adults on a pedestal and say, hey, we have young adults here. Isn't that amazing? But then when the young adult tries to do anything or say anything, they run into issues, everybody runs away. I mean, personally, in my LD, I wanted to talk to my PCs in a formal setting and understand, what does this party believe in, at least at the local level? And the leadership said no. They did not want to have those discussions. And moving to, for the last couple minutes, let's kind of talk about what can we do to get young people to the polls. The issue that I see when I talk to people online, when I talk to my friends, is they don't believe that Democrats believe in anything, simply put. That Democrats are willing to shift their views, that they aren't willing to commit to anything just because they want to win more than they do the actual values. So you listed off a lot of values, Charlene, wonderful values, but a lot of people question whether our candidates actually believe in them. And we suffer in authenticity from that. So if anybody would like to take that up.
Thanks, Andrew.
I chime in, and I don't think that this is going to be a popular opinion, but I just want to say, honestly, when I was asked to do this podcast, that very thing right there was one of the reasons I was extremely hesitant to want to participate, because I share some of those concerns. Sometimes I feel like our leaders, and again, I'm going to preface this with what Charlene said earlier, which is give folks grace, because we do have to realize that they are humans too. But I do think that I find, especially in what we're dealing with right now, it feels like sometimes they're missing the moment, and sometimes I'm missing the moment. And so that right there, not having an answer for that I didn't know how to address, that sort of elephant in the room, made me worried or not want to actually participate in this. And so I just want to say that I am okay with saying I don't have an answer, but I know that for me personally, I have made it my mission to walk our talk. When Democrats say we mean this, I make sure that our party does that. When we say we support Indigenous folks, I make sure that our land acknowledgement not only does that, but that we found a local Cocopah tribal member who is now organizing on Cocopah land. So we're not just saying in our meetings that we honor our Indigenous folks, but we are actually helping them to get registered to vote. And this weekend, she got 4 voters registered just this weekend. So like, I personally make sure that I'm trying to walk the talk of the Democrats. And again, I want to just say that I think maybe a little bit of grace, but hopefully that other leaders will join me in that a little bit more, and being okay, being authentic, and not necessarily always having an answer.
Yeah, I'd love to jump in really fast too. I'm super stoked because we have a lot of young folks who have filed to run for office at different levels, from Congress down to, school board. And That excites me, right? Because as a young voter, I'm full of transparency. I was not a Democrat right out of high school, right? I was an independent because of that same narrative of like, I want somebody who's going to stand for something and stand on it, not somebody who's going to toe the line and say one thing in one press conference and one thing in another press conference. And I think that goes back to a conversation we were having earlier. I was at the Maricopa County winter meeting and I was not inspired. I was not impressed because they were not talking about all the congressional seats up for grabs. And it turned into a conversation of, oh, well, are they really viable candidates? Like, how much money have they fundraised? And I hate that. I hate that that's what we always come back to. And I understand that that's like a reality, but there's some folks who are running really awesome on really awesome issues that need to be named. I live in Congressional District 1 and like none of the candidates are wowing me right now. Like, to be frank, like I don't think any of them.
Offend, so yeah, you'd think one of them would turn you on,
right? Like, and like that just kind of sucks, right? That it always comes back to the money. Who's raising the more money? Who's putting up the most signs? Who's pushing the most ads instead of like what their actual policy is? And like for CD6, the candidate there, the candidate I keep saying doesn't even have a policy platform on their like website. Like there's no policy that they're standing on. And so that's concerning as a young voter, right? But I'll leave it at that because I do want to hear everything else.
Well, Jonathan, you haven't weighed in.
I'm sorry. Just to retrace my steps. What was the question?
Yeah, so we're just asking about getting young people to the polls. Anything that you think can help? I offered that many do not believe that Democrats believe in anything and that our candidates are inauthentic. So you can agree or disagree with that and give any other insights on how to get young people to the polls.
All right. No, I agree with that 100%. People don't like the fakeness of it all. Honestly, you got to be genuine with the young folks because they can pick up the fake, the acting like a mile away, and especially in this day of social media, the influencers and all that stuff, and it's just performative. People get so fed up and tired of the performative. Just give it to us straight. Are you going to help us or are you not? And yeah, I mean, that's, I'm much more aware and attuned of the campaigning side and the party side now after all these years. So I know there's a lot of nuance and I know there's a lot. But at the end of the day, like to get young folks to turn out and vote, we need to connect with them 100%. We need to see, they need to see people like us in our age range in these leadership roles. So like I said, I'm glad to see it where we can see it, and I'm glad to be in a leadership role, right? But we need to see it a little bit more often, and there has to be a mixture there with the older generation, the more experienced, and the generation that's passing on the torch. And I love to see it, I love to see it. But we gotta educate and empower the young leaders so that they can empower other young leaders and they can empower other young, it has to, you gotta pass on the knowledge, that's part of it. I mean, I'm fortunate enough to, like I said, have had a lot of help, a lot of great mentors, and, this is knowledge that is going to be necessary to keep the thing going. And in the future, once I need to pass on the torch to the next chair, I need to fill them in. I need to give it to them straight, and be that support. Be the thing that you didn't have. That way you can shape the culture a little bit. But yeah, just being genuine to voters. I mean, just sticking to real values. I mean, right now, I mean, honestly, like, I would love to see. I love to see a lot of working class candidates going up for running. I just met one of the LD25 candidates, and it's so great because we hit it off because we can relate on so many things. He's my age, Keith Lara. And I was just trying to give him a little bit of advice on a phone call recently. And, it's nice to be on the level, because I find that, just naturally the age difference, like it just happens, just the generations, they kind of communicate differently, but that's why, again, we need a mixture so we can all communicate and be on the same wavelength, or whatever,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Chair Fernandez, I'd like to hear from you last. Has this conversation sparked anything for you? Broken loose any ideas? Have you taken anything away from this that might inform how you lead the party from here on?
Oh, well, yeah, definitely. I'm hoping that I was already, walking the walk. Maybe this made me think about something.
Criticism implied, just asking how you're reacting to all this.
No. But there are just some things, when I heard someone say, and it was you, Claudia, I think, that said about the wow factor. I don't think I have the wow factor, and I think I can lead pretty well. I don't know. I don't want someone to pop up and say, and we have a Charlie Kirk, right? I think he had the wow factor. I think his wife has the wow factor. Actually, I think Donald Trump has the wow factor. And that's the first time I've said his name since he got elected. He's got the wow factor, right? He must. Look what he did. Look what he's done. So that has never been my way of who I'm going to support and who I think is doing a great job. I look at people that something that defines them, maybe, someone that's a veteran, someone that has, is raising a family, someone that has gone to college, someone that has attempted to go to college, maybe had those barriers. Those are the people I want sitting in Congress. I want them to know how I live. I want them to know how my grandchildren and my neighbors live. Those are the people I want to vote for. So I think it's really important that we have to be, really diligent about who we support and what pops out at us. Look for people that look like you, that you can identify with, that they can identify with you. That person that, bought a house and maybe lost a house. When I hear people say, oh, I've got baggage, I had a bankruptcy. Well, for crying out loud, guess what? Most of America has. Don't tell me about baggage. We're not going to talk about that, because those are the things that make you human. Those are the things that are going to make you a better representative of these people. So, I always like to, you gave me closing rights. I always like to close with a call to action. And so if you care about Arizona, and I hope you do, you're here, there's a place for you in this fight, and it is a fight. There's organizing, and Xanth will tell you what organizing looks like in Yuma County, and then Jonathan will tell you what it's like to organize in a border area. They'll both tell you what it's like to organize where there's monolingual Spanish-speaking people that are U.S. citizens and eligible to vote. Monolingual Spanish-speaking. And then there's those bilingual ones too. So there's a place for everybody. So registering those people, and not just registering them, but making sure they get out to vote, and that starts today. You can't just register someone and chalk it up. That's a lifelong relationship. I got to tell you, there's people that still come up to me and say, you registered me. Do you remember me? And I don't, because I've registered a lot of people, but they'll remember you always. Telling your story. We started a story lab, and it's already gaining a little bit of interest, and it's going to gain more interest as we hear your story. Just the story that you told me right now today. People want to hear that you're like them, that you have a story just like they do. And then just people like you investing in this work. This is a moment that we stand up and we say, what can we do? We don't sit down and sit this out. There is no sitting this out at all. I'm telling you, no way. No one can sit until, November, until Thanksgiving. That's it. You cannot sit. Our wins have always come. I mean, they are hard fought. Our wins have always come from people that decide to show up. And young Democrats are no different. I remember the days, and I'm going to be dating myself, but Janet Napolitano went to every single county in this state, every single one of them. And she campaigned in those counties, and she talked to young people, and she talked to old people, and she talked to working people, and people that couldn't even vote. She talked to them too. And I know she did because I was right there. And she won. She won when she should not have, when it was predicted that she would not have. So today's not a day to sit out. Today's not a day to say it can't happen. Today's not a day to say, oh, you know, because of this, I can't do it. We just all have to buckle down and do it. And I'm so happy that I'm in this fight with you all. I really am. This has been like the time of my life. Who would have known? Who would have ever thought? I worked for the President of the United States and I loved it. This is the time of my life right here, right now. So thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us, Chair Fernandez. All right, that'll wrap it up for today's Inside Arizona. So I want to thank you for all joining us, for spending your time here with us today to give us your insights, and signing off.